Hello, everyone. I'd like to introduce our special guest, Alison Setton. She is a mutual fund representative at WFG Securities and an insurance agent at World Financial Group. She is a financial educator at How Money Works. That is a mouthful. Alison, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Katie. It's such a pleasure to be here. I've really enjoyed working with you over the years, and I know that education is a really big part of your process as well. So we get along great.
Awesome. Well, now I know if anyone reads your bio, it basically notes that people should expect more from our financial industry. And you specifically in your business are working to help change the way financial services are delivered. So can you expand a little bit on what is missing and what you're doing to make change?
Absolutely. The biggest thing missing across the industry today, it's access. The middle market is just not being served to the same degree as high net worth individuals, and they need it more. Who's in that middle market? It's the 80%, typically families, college or university educated people. They work the hardest, they pay the most taxes, they have the least freedom of time. I mean, I was in that middle market. I didn't have $250,000 just sitting around simply to invest at age 30. I mean, who does, right? So guess where I thought I should go for financial help? The banks, right? Can you relate? I know you will compete with those banks, right? And it's the same people that think the bank is the place to go for the one-stop shop, and it's a travesty, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're just not. I mean, I grew up in the bank. We do compete with the banks, but we're finding that there isn't that advice piece. And as you said, too, anyone in that middle range, if they have had $250,000 available, it's gone into purchase real estate. It's not necessarily liquid cash to invest into a portfolio. So,
yeah.
Other than sort of that lack of advice, what are the key pieces that are missing or elements that are missing out of financial planning? Access, obviously, is number one, but
yeah, well, I want to address your question on sort of what we're doing, because you're right, the banks just don't have the business model, right? They don't have the business model to be able to dedicate a lot of time to people that come in, to retail customers, and they're not clients, they're customers, right? They don't have that same level of fiduciary duty that you and I have to our clients. I mean, the only time my husband, who was a realtor, I'll spoiler alert, he's come and work with me now, but when he would get a big commission, and realtors' income is very lumpy, when he would get that big commission, that's the only time he got some attention when he went into the bank. Like, oh, Mr. Setton, let us introduce you to someone who can help you, with that money. So we're opening up that access to consumers to get high touch financial advice, but also to people to get into the industry, to agents. And maybe I can share, if you're okay, a quick story to kind of illustrate what we're doing differently. Would that be okay?
Absolutely, would love it.
Okay, so for all of us, I think certainly for me, my most important client is my dad, right? He was middle market. He's a hardworking civil engineer. That's why I became an engineer, and he never took a day off, right? Did all the right things that he knew to do. And pretty much my hero growing up. My other hero was, of course, my mom, who dedicated herself to other people. She was a nurse, and she worked shift work most of her career. So when I came into this industry over 11 years ago, to my great surprise, my dad opened up about his finances. Hey, did your parents ever talk to you about money, just out of curiosity?
Not theirs, no.
Right. We did not go there. I had no idea growing up how much my dad made, whether we were rich or poor. Like, it was just a no-go zone. And I think a lot of people can relate to that generationally. So I was convinced there's no way my dad would want to talk to me, his own daughter, about money. But as soon as I was licensed, he was like, oh, he's got all his files. Here, come and take a look. How about this? How about that? And what I saw was, quite heartbreaking because, he had a pension, thank goodness. My mom had a pension. And then all the rest of his savings had gone into his RRSP. Thankfully they did have real estate. They grew up in that era where you could be middle market and have a home. So it was not liquid. He got a fixed income and he had an RSP. And the value of the money in his own investments that he could control hadn't really budged in 20 years. It had gone up, it had gone down. And he had a small car loan, financing a car, never heard of permanent insurance. So because of this company training me, I was able to help him, and he trusted me, right? He obviously trusts his own family, trusts his daughter to help him. And thank goodness we're not only able to triple the savings that he had, more importantly, we're make sure that it was tax efficient. So we were able to slowly take it out of his RSP and max out his tax-free savings accounts, because as it turned out, my mom was developing dementia at the time and now has full-blown dementia. And if he hadn't put that money from a taxable, from both his, money was tied up in tax, highly taxed vehicles, into a tax-free savings account, you'd have no lump sum access to lump sum money without a high tax penalty. Mm-hmm. So that, in addition to growing the money he had, he didn't have the financial literacy to understand the implications of tax and having money available for the what ifs in life. So, when I look around at, my colleagues and their parents, most people are not planning for, something going wrong in retirement.
No.
We're barely planning for a perfect retirement where we're healthy and just go traveling and have a lot of fun. We're barely planning for that scenario, let alone a scenario where one parent is sick or injured or ill. And I think that's, what we're doing to change this industry is making sure that people have access to someone they trust that can help them make good decisions financially. And I was that person for my dad and for other members of my family. And we just need more of that.
I think one of the barriers that I've definitely seen is that you have a mature adult who assumes they should know about these concepts, but they don't. It's the same as saying, though, you would go to a neurosurgeon for neurosurgery. You're not supposed to know about how to perform the surgery. You trust the professional. So same thing in financial planning. It's like, you're not supposed to know about all of these concepts. You have the right professional that you can trust to introduce them. And I've seen how you introduce these concepts, and you introduce them in very easily digestible pieces. You stand out to me in that regard. In everything that I've seen you do. It's how do you think you're different in that way to be able to present these complex sort of financial planning concepts in those little digestible bites to build that trust? Like, yes, with your father, it's a little bit easier.
Yes. Yeah, you got the trust. Yeah.
But with a perfect stranger, like, maybe just talk to that piece a bit.
Totally. Yeah. So there's a couple of things embedded in there. Number one, I'm very close to being I'm very close to people all the time who are starting from scratch. So what I mean by that is, have you ever asked a computer expert to help you with something simple on your computer? And they'll say, oh, it's easy. Here, out of the way, let me do it for you. And off they go. And you have no idea what just happened, right? And I think sometimes that happens in the financial industry. It's kind of based on, it's complicated. Let me do it for you. Trust me. So trust is very important. But the other piece is you want an engaged partner, someone who is able to help themselves and ask good questions. And so we start with education. And because I'm always constantly talking, not only to clients who are starting from scratch, who are like, okay, I really know nothing, but also bringing in new agents and training them from scratch. So we're always in touch. We got our feet on the ground, right? And if you're always surrounded by experts, you start to not be understandable or relatable to people who aren't. So I think that's one unique part of our model, is that we're always training new agents in the industry, and we're talking to people. Secondly, it's based on education, and we have found out that in order to go into that middle market, in a way, we have to create it, because most people didn't have a financial literacy class in school.
No.
Did you have sex ed? Right. I always say the things we're gonna figure out ourselves, we get educated on. Money, I guess we'll figure it out, but we might make a lot of expensive mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
And for some reason, people feel embarrassed that they don't know this stuff, but there's really no reason to be embarrassed. We really have not been taught. So we start with education, and that is a way for people to check us out as well, to say, hey, do I like this company? Do I trust this individual? They can come and learn. We're not selling anything. It's really just about financial literacy, financial education. Mm-hmm. If they self-identify and say, yeah, I'd like, a personalized, plan, then now they have, an arsenal. They've got they're armed, they have some questions, they have some ideas, and they make a better client as well. So in a way, we're creating that market. And the third thing I'll say is, it's not so much that financial planning is rocket science. There are some pretty simple strategies and rules to follow, but what is complex sometimes are the products.
Yeah,
right? There's amazing financial companies out there that are actually manufacturers. They're making great mortgages, great investments, great insurance products. And yes, they are complicated, but the end consumer doesn't need to go into all the nitty gritty. They just need to know why it's a good fit for them and the features that will be of help. But if I were going forward with a product-based approach, if I was a captive agent and not a broker, like you and I are both brokers, we represent many different companies, we shop the market for our clients. But if we're a captive agent, we have something we want to sell, and we're going to help find people that will fit into it, right? When you're a broker, you're really looking at strategy first, and then finding the product that suits your client, and that doesn't have to be complicated. So it's the difference between the strategy and the products. I always think of that, the Simon Sinek, start with why.
Yeah.
Right. If we start talking products and features, people are glazed over right away.
Well, I remember when I was working with the bank, it was always about, clients' overall plan, objective, time horizon, broader picture. And then we would look to fit some products in there for them. Ultimately, there's a product, just like with mortgages, but it does have to fit the overall financial plan. You put the wrong product in there and you break the plan. So
yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of different ways to approach. Like, I love the creative problem solving of what we both do. We are the experts. We can bring some strategies and then products to the client, because there may be more than one approach, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what can you do to lend a hand for those that want to get into home ownership or, upgrade? As it relates to then also having assets or not having assets, but being in a high income earning, decade or period of life, such that, again, they need the advice. They're not getting it at a branch level, but they don't have the investment portfolio large enough to work with other advisors that have set minimums. So how do you help there?
Yeah. So of course we have no minimums. We'll help people all the way from if they're in debt and they need to get to the point where they can be a good client, all the way. And of course we have high net worth clients as well, but a sweet spot is that middle market. We never want to turn people away. We want to help people get where they want to go. So the first step is really looking at what are their goals and what do they have, and how can we help them get to where they want to go. Maybe it's home ownership from where they are today. So sometimes that can be understanding how to access as you were talking before we got on here, how to access assets they have that they just didn't know that they could access, money stuck in different places that they don't know that they could apply. It may be about working creatively with other individuals to, towards the same goal. Like maybe the partner that you buy a house with isn't your life partner, for example. It could be understanding how to get an extra 1 or 2% on the savings they have. It could be accessing or putting the money in the right vehicle. Like so often I see people putting investments, they'll have their own investing account and they'll be buying and selling stocks and they're doing some pretty sophisticated stuff, but they haven't put it into a tax-free savings account. So when they go to use it to buy a home, they're going to pay some tax. We want to avoid that if it's possible, right?
Yeah.
We can, and the best product of all, in my opinion, is our ability to help people get licensed and earn additional income, because sometimes that's what it comes down to. People just need to earn more to be able to save up faster, whether it's for a down payment, whether it's for their retirement. And we help people get trained, licensed, and start earning some money and helping people that, they have a trust relationship with.
Which is excellent. And as you've said, I guess in partnership with your husband as well, which is exciting.
Yes, he was a realtor for 15 years, a developer before that, and he was watching me for the past 11 years and finally decided he wanted to come on board because he sees the difference we make in people's lives, and is now in his licensing process, and he's bringing his skill set to the team to be able to help people learn how to connect with people, how to, build a client base, how to build a team, how to work together. So yeah, we're really excited.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers, listeners, before we close today?
Well, I would say don't be ashamed to reach out for help. Make sure that you ask lots of questions. Reach out to me to find out how you can access really good financial literacy resources. And don't pigeonhole yourself. If you're an engineer like I was and you want to understand how money works, there's no reason why you couldn't come in and do that in a more meaningful way and help yourself, help your family, and maybe earn some money along the way. We need to make so that there are so many people that are trusted, that are within arm's reach of, friends and family. Because who do people go to when they need financial help? They go to their friends and family quite often. Imagine if your friend or your family member was licensed and knowledgeable and backed by a team of full-time agents and product providers to be able to help you. That's our vision, that no family is left behind by the financial industry. And, we're helping a market that's been left behind. So
I love it.
Reach out.
Well, thanks for taking the time to share of your knowledge and what you're doing. I think it's awesome. If we'll put your contact information in the notes here, but maybe you can share with us the best way to connect with you.
Yeah, well, I love a phone call or an email, whatever people prefer. But if they go to my website, which is myname.ca, so alisonsetton.ca, it'll direct to my Canadian website. If you happen to be watching this from the United States, alisonsetton.com will get you to my US website.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for being here with us. And if anyone does want a personal introduction, I'm happy to also facilitate that. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you so much, Katie. Likewise.